Day 518 of the Ukrainian War Map, also known as the Russo-Ukrainian War. Juzzy here, and today is an extremely small update as I take a simplified and down-to-earth approach to some of the most important happenings on the ground in Ukraine. And so for a quick move to the Russian losses today, as Russia is currently sitting on more than 243,000 personnel losses there. And in terms of hardware, we're looking at 3 tanks, 5 APVs, and 22 artillery losses. Oh, and of note, one Russian Ka-52 attack helicopter, which was well within Russian-occupied territory when hit, as it was about 10 kilometers back, or about 6 miles, from the front lines of eastern Ukraine. Then we'll head across to the Ukrainian map into the front lines of the Donbass today because Andrivka was liberated as Russian troops were forced to withdraw under pressure. And Avdivka is just south of Bakhmut, and you can see it there, although not yet updated or reflected on the map so far. Meanwhile, it also looks like the adjacent settlement of Klishchivka and is close to liberation itself. Liberation is imminent here. Now, the Ukrainian forces are already inside the village as they seek to finish off their liberations, as Russian forces are probably doing a fighting retreat here at the moment. And all of these occurrences would no doubt be a devastating blow to the ego of the Russian army and to Putin himself. But meanwhile, Russian trolls will accordingly update their anti-Ukrainian sentiments, saying something like Ukraine is winning too slowly or something like that. Then we'll head on down south as the AFU General Staff spokesman, Kovalev, has said that Ukrainian troops had gained ground in the vicinity of Staromyska, and that's along the southern front there, so I'll show you that one. In fact, we'll go back in time on the map just to show you the changes there. So getting a real foothold into the northwest skirts of the town. Oh, and we also have some footage from the Aeronauts Recon Unit of the Ukrainian forces showing Russian soldiers effectively fleeing the area as well. Then as we move more westerly, Russian channels report that since this morning, Ukrainian forces have resumed larger scale attacks towards Robotine, and we'll just zoom into that one there and see as Ukrainian heavy equipment and lots of artillery is being reported. Again, using the date map, we can see the extension of the frontline contact points and some additional liberation there just north of the settlement as well. Then heading across to some news for today, so another Russian commander has been liquidated. This time it is Regiment Commander Yevgeny Yushnin, and such a butchered pronunciation at that. Although the circumstances of his death have been suspect, to say the least. Firstly, he was listed as wounded in Ukraine about 10 days ago, then recently said to have died in a car crash in Moscow, then just yesterday reported as died in Ukraine. But whatever the circumstances, the point is the scale of these losses of Russian commanders is unprecedented since World War II. And the reasons seem to be due to the commanders being forced to go into the field to address difficulties in command and control or faltering a Russian performance on the front line. But whatever the reason, the high number of Russian commanders killed is a major blow to the Russian military, as these commanders are essential for planning and coordinating operations, and their deaths have made it more difficult for Russia to achieve its objectives in Ukraine, whatever they are right now. Then in some other news, Russian Defense Minister Shoigu visited Pyongyang in North Korea and can be seen here with the red carpet rolled out for him and greeted by the North Korean soldiers. And as you may expect, North Korea has continued to express their full support for Russia's full-scale invasion into Ukraine, but it has to be mentioned that if one of your closest allies during time of war is North Korea, then you should ideally really start to rethink your geopolitical position on the world stage. And although there may be no official word on the outcome of this high level meeting between nations, between pariah nations, it's fully expected that Shoigu and Russia will request some more of that dodgy old expired Soviet artillery shells that North Korea likely has a bit of. But they're not about to deplete their own stockpiles, no matter how defunct those munitions are, at the risk of their own national security needs. But if we call this situation for what it really is, it's simply Russian desperation to obtain more artillery support after idiotically expending nearly 100,000 shells per day for the first 12 months of their invasion into Ukraine. And now they've lost that capability forever. Then in some other news, the Russian government has now extended the deadline for repairing the Crimean bridge from as little as a few weeks, they said, about a week ago, to December the 31st, so New Year's Eve of this year. And at this stage, I can all but guarantee that Ukraine will strike the bridge again before that date. Then moving across to what I would consider another Russian military mobilization blunder segment of sorts, Russia just raised the maximum age of conscription from 27 to 30 years of age. So this law was just passed yesterday in Russia's parliament and will come into effect on January 1st next year. The new law also prohibits conscripts from leaving Russia once they have been called up for service. And although it's too early to say exactly what the impact of the new law will be, it is clear that Russia is experiencing some serious manpower shortages after their now prolonged invasion into Ukraine, which lasted more than 3 days. Excuse the editorial jab there. But it's also an economic demographic killer for Russia, literally. As, for instance, ages 25 to 35 is one of the largest economically contributing age groups to any nation, because at this age, people are starting to purchase their homes and have generally quite still large discretionary consumer spending habits as well, as they say. So really needing to get that latest Samsung Galaxy or iPhone. Oh, and don't forget the car. Then in a super quick funny to round it all off with today, guys, so it has been pretty easily determined by the intelligence community that Russia has been painting Sukhoi Su-34 jets on their aircraft lots at quite a few locations, actually. And in this image here, you can see one is half painted on. All in an attempt to deceive Ukrainian drones and various other offensive platforms. But hey, there's nothing wrong with a good decoy if it's effective. But I would perhaps recommend a three-dimensional wooden decoy, which would be much better, as those ones at least drop a realistic shadow. So that's it for today, guys. I really just wanted to squeeze in a few brief things there regarding the Eastern and the Southern fronts and a few little bits and pieces of news. Let me know if you enjoyed the short video or you really want it to be longer. I know a lot of people prefer the long videos, but I thought, hey, short video, better than no video. So taken from that perspective, let me know if you liked it enough. So thanks again for watching. Please leave a comment, subscribe, definitely hit that like button. And yeah, I really do hope to see all of you guys there in the next one. Cheers.